Enough respect it, I mean, we network across the globe, cause it's a global market in case you didn't know. And since we all about information flow, let me be the first one to welcome you to Tech Zone with Paul Amadeus Lane. Let's talk tech, cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show, cause we live on air, yeah.
Welcome back to the second segment of the show, and if you missed our interview with actor Scott Porter about his love of video games, who his favorite comic book character is. The discussion I had with him at Comic-Con 2016, you can always check out the podcast on our YouTube channel, Paul Amadeus Lane. Like it, subscribe. We're almost up to 500 subscriptions there. Scott, we had a blast. We talked about E3. And if you're a video game head, no doubt you will enjoy that. We'll continue our discussion about Comic-Con 2016 in the Gears Gaming and Green Screen room that I was in. Had a chance to talk to Scott, Christopher Gorham, and all-world composer extraordinaire. Now, some of you hardcore video heads out there, when I say this name, you're going to know who I'm talking about. Neal Acree. Neal worked on Overwatch. He worked on Revelation Online, that game. And for all you Stargate heads out there, Stargate SG-1, he was the main composer for that television show. I love Stargate. You know, I used to watch it on Showtime when it first came out on Showtime. Then it moved over to the Sci-Fi Network. Loved it. Jack O'Neill, Colonel O'Neill. I didn't think that MacGyver himself, Richard Dean Anderson, could pull Colonel Jack O'Neill off. I'm sorry, Brigadier General Jack O'Neill off, and he did a fantastic job. But I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with Neal about what it takes to compose for video games and how it's different from composing for a television or film score. He was one of my favorite interviews there because his shirt that he wore during the interview was awesome. Now, some of you who are watching on live stream or YouTube, and those of you who are listening on the radio, you can always go back and check out my YouTube channel, Paul Amadeus Lane, and you'll be able to see what he has on. But he's like I'm like his fan now for the shirt that he had on. But here's my conversation with the great all-world composer Neal Acree. Now, when it comes to composing a game, what are some things that you have to have in place to get started?
Well, you obviously a big picture of the game itself and what the game's about, the overall, the story, the characters, kind of get a scope. Like I've done a lot of work in film, so with a film you obviously have a set story that you know goes from here to there, and you know exactly where the music's going to get plugged in. With the game, you kind of have to have a similar idea of how the music's going to be experienced and what the players are going to experience. So just having that overall blueprint's really important.
And what's the difference between working on films and video games? Is there a big difference?
Technically, yes. I mean, you know, like I said, with film, you're kind of plugging music into very specific moments. With a game, it might be interactive, and the music will adapt to the gameplay. So you have to construct it with that in mind, maybe adding layers and things that the game engine will kind of fade in and out. So it's really just kind of thinking ahead of time, like how it's going to be experienced and stuff. But ultimately, the overall approach, I don't sit down and say, hey, I'm going to write game music right now. You know, we're telling stories with music, and you know, trying to move the players or the viewers emotionally, you know, with the music we create.
Now, were you a big gamer growing up?
I was. Atari 2600 and, you know, Space Invaders and all that. So,
you know, and everybody who I've talked to who's going to be on the panel all had a 2600. And I remember when Pac-Man first came out for the 2600. I mean, if you had that game, all the kids in the neighborhood were at your house.
Yep.
And the way we see video games today, did you ever imagine that we would see the type of production that goes behind video games now?
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, I was trying to explain to my daughter, who's 10 years old, that there's a game called Adventure that was basically this one dot moving around the screen, and they're telling you, oh, this is your adventure. You're going to run into a dragon, and the dragon's like a couple pixels and stuff. And at the time, that was like what we got. It was exciting. You know, you're scared to move into the next room, which would just be like a big block. You know, so who knows where things are going to go from here? That's the exciting part.
And you know, I remember my first video game. It's going to blow you away. My first video console was an Odyssey. Now, not the Odyssey that came out that had like the cool games, but the one that had Pong. That's what I had. So I guess if I had it today, I can make some money on eBay if I had it, right? Let's talk about VR now. Do you think you may have to change your approach when you work on a VR project than doing a game like for other consoles because VR is so in your face?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think personally, I feel like the music itself, you're experiencing this world that's around you. Sounds are coming from here and there. Music you kind of want it to sit with you and stay with you. So, I mean, the way it's recorded, I played there's a Star Wars game that like Trials of Tatooine or something like that, and hearing John Williams' music, it surrounds you. It's great to have it right there. So, I don't think the approach, what's interesting, you can experiment with that. You can have the music coming from all different places. So the question is, what kind of game are you talking about? Are you talking about, like a Star Wars game where you're experiencing something that that's familiar, or are you doing something experimental where the sound could be coming from anywhere? So the opportunities, obviously, are to experiment are there.
And when it comes to composing today, I remember my background is in music. We used to record off a reel-to-reel 2-inch tape. Now we have Pro Tools. We have a lot of things out there. Do you think we get a better warpness with analog over digital when you're composing, or what's your take on that?
The difference was stronger a few years ago. I think the difference is less now, but the funny thing is, a lot of kids, you give a side-by-side test with like an MP3 or a high-res audio file, and they'll say, oh, the MP3 sounds better. It's kind of, you wonder, how audio the perception of audio quality will change over time. But from my perspective, yeah, I love an analog sound, and I come from the reel-to-reel days as well. I wish I had a pocket 4-track in my iPhone when I grew up, but I didn't.
Yeah, that would have been sweet, wouldn't it? And do you ever like hear people talking about like Overwatch, and you're like, I can compose that? You ever do that too?
Well, no, first of all, it's a team effort, and I'm grateful to be a part of the team and to have worked for Blizzard Entertainment. It's an incredible company that does amazing games, and I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had, and I'm not the kind of person that goes and yells from this rooftops that I worked on it. But it's been really cool to be able to play the game because I really enjoy it, and getting to work on a game that you enjoy playing is an extra special treat.
And what's your favorite project you ever worked on?
I recently worked on a game called Revelation Online, which is a Chinese MMO, fantasy MMO, which was a great opportunity to, for one, a Chinese company hired me to write Chinese music, which is really cool. And getting to, I had done some of that with Mists of Pandaria, World of Warcraft, Mists of Pandaria. So to dive further into that world was really exciting. It's a very personal project and very fun. And the game's coming out next year, and the soundtrack's already out on Varese Sarabande Records. So it's one of those that it's taken some word of mouth to get people to hear it, but the people that have heard it have said great things about it. So that's a special one for me.
That's awesome. Couple other questions before we let you go. What is the weirdest or the coolest thing you've seen at Comic-Con so far?
So far, I saw a pink Tusken Raider. That was interesting.
Pretty cool. And I see you're a big Star Wars fan. Like me, I know when you say Star Trek to a Star Wars fan, you might get smacked. So I got to say it right. Your favorite film in the franchise?
Empire Strikes Back.
Wasn't that cool? Especially at the end when Vader was like, "For I am your father."
Yeah.
and I remember watching that, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's his pops."
Yeah, that blew my mind, and I showed it to my daughter recently, and she loved it too. Greatest movie of all time.
I would have to agree with that. What do you think about the new reboot?
Even before I saw it, when I knew that it was going to happen, I knew this is going to be in a separate universe than the original. So for me, there's no, the original trilogy, there's nothing that's going to replace it or truly add on to it. So getting to see the world continue, it's exciting in a certain sense. I wouldn't say I was disappointed or it was fun. I'll say that.
Awesome. And Empire Strikes Back had one of the coolest quotes by Yoda. And let's see if I can use the Force and give it to you. What line was that?
Do or do not, there is no try.
He got it. Absolutely. Hey, great talk to you, friend. Enjoy the con.
Thank you. Great talking to you.
The humble and awesome Neal Acree. Sean, we had Neal Acree on, man. Can you believe that? Gaming icon, composer extraordinaire. Sean, can you believe that? Hey, when we get back, more Tech Zone coming up after these messages. I'm Paul, Amadeus Lane. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Take a little trip with me and hopefully you can see how the hood, suburbs, and Main Street are all connected. Enough respect here, we network across the globe cause it's a global market in case you didn't know. And since we all about information flow, let me be the first one to welcome you to Tech Zone with Paul Amadeus Lane. Let's talk tech cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show cause we live on air, yeah.